Okay, we're gonna start the Town of Sangerville Board of Selectmen meeting. It's Wednesday, February 20th. You've got 1 minute of 5. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, approval of the minutes, February 6, 2019 Select Board meeting. B, February 6, 2019 public hearing. And C, February 10th, 2019 Select Board workshop.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Second.
Any further discussion? None, we vote. Is 3 in favor. Item 3, review of treasurer's warrants. A, payroll 9/10. B, accounts payable 11.
Make a motion to approve A and B as read.
Second.
Any further discussion? None, we vote. 3 in favor. Open session. We have no guests today, so I think we can go right through to item 5, Selectmen's concerns. Any concerns of the Selectmen today?
I don't have any concerns, couple things. One, the absentee ballot. I did get asked about that. So, but for a town meeting, just wanted to bring it up so in case anybody's listening, so everybody knows that's a no, we can't do that. The other thing too is I stopped in, I don't know what day it was, Saturday, Sunday, and they were hauling all the snow off. And Nazer and George and Warren were here, so when I pulled in, I had to talk to Warren, so I go out. But so anyway, long story short, my wife was talking with George, and Nazer was there. Nazer, I could hear he made mention something about money owed in a political thing. So I didn't ask because I didn't want to get in the middle of that conversation. But it was something about Nazer and moving snow and didn't get paid,
Nazer's not an employee of the town. I did not hire Nazer.
Okay.
C.W. Newt asked him. And I told Nazer that straight up. I'm not your boss. If they've asked you to do the work, they're your boss.
So you do know something about this, though?
All I know is Nazer came to me and told me that Warren had asked him to give them a hand.
Okay. It was it sounded like we called him, that's why
Nope.
Not getting into it,
Nope.
This is a way, I just don't want the conversation if we don't all know about it.
Right.
So
What happened?
I was, from what I
Or
said, I was talking with Warren, Nazer wasn't directly talking at me, but he was it was referencing, we hired him to move snow, and it was a political thing. And
Political? Well,
I heard that word, that's why I say that. So, and I just kind of looked at Warren just, and I didn't ask questions, because it wasn't the place to,
right.
you know what I mean, and I didn't know any information, so I wasn't gonna get involved with this.
No.
But have you heard, did you hear anything about this?
Nazer came to me and told me that Warren had asked him to help them. And I specifically told him, I am not hiring you from the town. If they have came and asked you, they're paying you,
Sure.
it's not,
So
and
why
they're
would he
your
think
boss.
we were gonna pay him? Why would he think that?
I don't know.
Huh?
I just.
Because that's the
wanna make
right
sure.
answer.
Right, no,
Right,
and that's
right.
what I told him. I said, it's up to you. It's between you and Warren. It's not anything to do with me.
So did Nazer work for them and then come to you to get paid? Is that what?
No, he came to me before he even started with them, but he just wanted to, so he knew the rules.
Was he using our equipment? Do you know that? Or do you know that?
I don't know if
I
he
did
was
not-
or not.
I didn't hear that, but I didn't ask either.
But the
If he
Newts
was-
have permission to use the loader.
Correct. but
So
if they
he would
wanted-
have been a subcontractor or an employee of the Newts, he would be allowed to use that.
Sure. So there was a that
So he didn't
something-
come back around to you though and say, okay, now I wanna get paid?
Nope.
Alright.
Alright, well, now that I know we haven't any involved in it, I'm gonna ask him, because now I'm just curious, because I don't want, if that's the case, then I I can actually say, "Nee, this isn't a town issue, this isn't a political issue.
Right.
This doesn't have anything to do with us."
Right.
But like I said,
Well-
I didn't know, so I didn't.
The only political part of that would have been, I asked Chris specifically to remove the snow
But that doesn't have anything to do
so
with
that we could have
Sure.
town meeting.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's the only political part of,
Sure.
that I had involvement
Yeah.
with was, I need the parking lot emptied so we can fit enough cars in there
Right,
for town
right.
meeting.
Actually, Mike and I had it. I mean, that was early on, but we were like, oh, geez, before
Well, yeah,
town
we showed
meeting,
up and then
it
the
was
next
like-
day it was cleaned up.
Exactly,
It's getting
exactly.
small in here.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's one thing that we haven't talked about at all, but I know it was a small item in the past when we did do town plowing. But I do not know how many, it'd be interesting to find out from Chris, how many loads of snow they've hauled off this year. Because they've plowed off a large acreage for dumping, and they've been hauling quite a bit. So, not just only here, but I mean throughout.
Where are they hauling it to? Their place?
Chris's,
Jeez, that seems like a haul.
but you can't dump near the river,
Right.
you know, so you have to be far enough. That's
I
kind of
think
part of the
it's-
town's issue, you can't
Yeah.
do it at the town garage.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny that the state tells you that you can't do it, but when the
Yeah,
DOT
I
cleaned
watched them
the
do
bridge,
that.
dumped it over the.
I was watching them do that. I was gonna take a video.
Probably not.
No. But I saw them do it.
I'm not alleging that this occurred, but it might be interesting if you had an opportunity when speaking with Chris. I just wonder if he went to Chris and said, Lois tells me she wants me to help you.
I wonder, that's.
I mean,
I
that
can
would-
ask,
I don't know, he told me that Warren
Right.
asked him
But I'm just
specifically, but
wondering-
yeah.
See,
Or ask Warren, I guess, because I just don't like, because I'm getting the impression that
We're
from
getting
the
a
way
bad
he
rap because we
sounded,
didn't
you
pay.
and us
Yeah.
are getting the bad side of this conversation. is what-
Yeah,
Yeah.
that we're
That's
very
why I'm
upfront
bringing it up.
with-
It's not saying who's right or who's wrong, but I just didn't like I definitely could sense a not happy tone, and when he threw the political word in there, it's like, what are you? But I
Talking
just didn't
about.
really wanna,
And I don't have contact with Nazer at
Yeah.
all, I mean, I
No, I-
never ask him to do anything, it's either to Chris or Chris and Warren, depending on what needs to be done, just so that they
but
both
he
are
did
aware
do
of it.
work in conjunction with them. He did.
Yes,
So-
as far as I know, he has done
So
work
he
with
definitely
them,
had a
yes.
conversation with them. It'd
Yes.
be interesting to know how that all came about.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't think it was a miscommunication between Warren and Chris?
No, it
Where
didn't
Chris
sound
said,
that way.
or Warren said,
No.
I need your help, and then Chris was like, oh, no, I would have
No,
done that
I-
if you should have asked me.
Chris wasn't there at the
Okay.
time, so I mean,
Oh, okay.
I just left Track Supply and I got a really good deal on something, and I was showing
You were
more.
happy.
That's why I stopped, but it wasn't nothing to do with any of this, but like I said, so when I stopped, that's when I get out and open up the back of my Jeep to show Warren, but I could hear the side conversation, and
Oh.
I'm just with you, I hate the idea of anybody,
Thinking
Yeah.
we owe them money.
yeah, like, boy,
We,
cause that's,
meaning all of us.
we just don't do
Right,
that.
right.
Alright,
Okay, yeah.
It was interesting.
And theoretically, just sorry to put the ribbon on this, if they can hire anyone they want,
That's right,
Sure.
and they don't even need to come discuss it with you.
that is correct.
Yeah.
It's just-
So that was
It's
just,
just weird.
yeah, the whole thing,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
interesting.
Okay.
Anything else under selectmen's concerns?
Nope, that was the two that.
Committee reports, item 6. None?
no, the only thing, I guess the rec committee is working on some kind of a grant or a conversation with New Balance to get new playground equipment. They're starting the process, whether or not it's a full grant or if it's just they're gonna work with them, I don't know, they don't know, but they're opening a conversation with New Balance.
That would be great.
Anything else on that? It occurred to me that my mother is involved with the library, in fact, she's the president, I believe, or whatever her role is. Anyway, they're going to receive a significant endowment, or it's part of an estate. It sounds like it could be upwards of $100,000.
Oh. Is it a one-time?
It's a one-time, the local Masons chapter also from the same estate. I don't know the family involved, but it sounds like they carved off about $1 million and it's going to local interests. And for the library, that's
Wow.
huge.
Yeah,
It's kind of its own version of perpetual care.
yeah.
So I don't think it's actually happened yet, I don't think they received the money, but it sounds like they've been notified that they will. Hopefully that all comes to fruition.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Was it a family that lived in Sangerville?
Originated, I believe, but she knew more. Once we get the money, I'm sure there'll be an announcement, but she tapped me to help them a little bit with investments. I won't personally invest it, but I just look at what they're doing.
Right,
and
right.
See
Oversee.
how they might be able to generate a little revenue.
That would
They're
be
hoping that
nice.
this will allow them to get rid of their table.
Yes.
That's their goal.
So they
Their
don't
little
have to.
mini yard sale.
Yeah.
It's kind of, they get some kind of cool stuff out there
Yeah, I
every so
mean,
often.
people
It
get
does,
rid of.
it works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting, she said to me that really, the majority of the library, I'm paraphrasing, because I don't know that she used the word majority, but the significant, role of the library is the internet. And for a lot of local folks who, a lot of places you can't even apply for a job now unless you can, do it online, so that's a very big part of what, they feel they're providing, so it's kind of.
I'm wondering, the internet that's in the library, if I were to sit here, can you use it or no?
Yes.
Oh, you can?
Yes.
If you were sitting outside, can you use it?
If the signal goes in and out,
But it's not secured. You don't have to put
It's
a-
open to
correct.
guest
It's the
network.
guest network.
Oh.
But it doesn't shoot a long distance.
No,
You know, I
because
mean, like in
in
Guilford,
my
you can see
office,
people
I
park
have a
outside.
hard time picking it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the auditor when he was here, he kept trying to get on to the guest network, and I guess there's too many doors between the library.
Oh,
Yeah.
He'd get on and off and on and off and on and off. So, I mean, it is
right.
distance.
But it's free and not secured. I mean, if-
Correct.
Yeah, you don't have to.
And there's there are ways we could make it more reliable throughout the building and even widen the footprint. I'm not an IT expert, but there are certain, let's call them mesh type, rather than just a Wi-Fi.
Oh,
So, I mean, they might look into something like that, I don't know. Maybe you don't want it, maybe you wanna be able to.
Yeah,
With an
draw
environment
people,
like that,
right.
it does open doors to different, if that's the big thing that they're providing for a service, it might be something they wanna look at.
In the summertime, if you see kids sitting out on the front step, that's what they're doing. They're connected to the Wi-Fi.
okay,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah, with tablets or,
uh-huh.
yeah.
And the fire station has Wi-Fi as well?
They have this, I don't know if theirs is public or not. I mean, they have the same thing that we do, but we don't let ours go Wi-Fi. We have, ours
oh.
is direct,
Oh,
just because it's a protection for the town.
Yeah.
Because of all of our documentation.
We don't want people to
and
have
stuff.
access.
right. Huh.
Which, this kind of leads me to another, I guess, be back to Selectmen's concerns. I'm thinking it might be nice if the Selectmen had email addresses, similar to what you have for the town manager and the clerk, so that town business could be directed through.
Yeah, and then
Those-
I'm not sifting through all my
Correct.
stuff and,
And when you leave as a selectman, that address stays here and a new selectman would get that address. But we
Selectman
need
1, 2,
3
3,
different
whatever.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
selectman chair, selectman AB, or 2
A
and
and
3
B,
after that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So, I mean, I
when
can see where your chair, you may
Yeah,
want a separate.
when I first
or
came
You'd want to identify the chair.
on the
I guess.
board, I asked that to Matt Pinio, remember? It was like one of the first, cause I didn't wanna get it all jumbled into my personal,
Well, he set you up
But he
like
never got it
Gmail
to us.
accounts. He never got it to you?
No,
Well, I threw away the username and passwords because I figured you had them and.
no.
But can we do, the format that you're using right now, are those Gmail accounts? Or
I don't think so.
they're through the
town-
provider?
Yeah,
That's where they belong, I think.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Is there any extras in that? I mean, how
I
many?
will send her an email and ask her.
How many are there?
Yeah, if we could
Right.
get 3, then they would be permanent, they would
And it would be
rotate out.
town, because what is it, it's Sanger?
It's at
Sangerme.
sangervilleme.com.
Yeah, that's nice.
So like yours is town manager, then
Yes,
you got
Tan
clerk, deputy
Sangerville,
clerk.
TC Sangerville, DTC Sangerville, Fire Department, I think
Oh.
it's FD Sangerville.
Okay,
So I think you could do A select board, B select board, C select board.
and you have your assignment.
And,
you know,
and
right.
that's where you
That's
would
who
stay
are, yeah.
until you rotate it out, and then
Right.
someone else would take it. And then on the town
You don't
website,
take your email
No,
with
no,
you.
no,
It's-
no.
Right.
In fact, you really, I'm looking for a way to separate our personal,
Right,
I don't know, alright, I'll have to get other information on how you can access it.
That would be the key.
see, and that was
Because
the problem, that
mine,
was what the problem was
Yeah.
when I was trying to get that all.
I think that's why Matt was thinking about the Gmail thing, because then we can go through, you know, I mean, you
Yeah,
can get it
yeah,
off your
right,
phone. through
right.
Gmail
right, I mean,
account.
cause you have to set it up with a POP server and,
yeah.
mine is set up through Outlook with a POP server, but there are different ways that you can do it. We just have Outlook, so we do it that way.
Uh-huh,
But
So you have
ideally,
Outlook
we'd get a
email?
notification when we
Yes.
had an email.
Oh,
right,
Otherwise, you're gonna
Yes.
have to go
but
in
we can have
and
Outlook
manually
on the
check it.
phone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
For like my work
You know
email,
what I mean?
I don't get a
Right.
notification,
You don't, you
but
have
it's
to go.
there all the time, so
Right.
I'm
Right,
so yeah, but that's okay, if I'd have to check 3, I have to check 3, but, that would be the ideal scenario, is that we get a notification either to our phones or to our Gmail account that we had mail. Because we don't get much that's business related, so if
Right.
but I just think it would be,
yeah, more
It'd be good.
professional.
Yeah.
And just, yeah.
and I don't think any of us really wanna put our personal emails on the town website.
No, and they're not,
They're not right
They're
now,
not.
we're not even represented there.
right. So it's our cell phones or whatever,
Yeah.
our house phone.
No, but the problem is we've been spammed out on so many, so everybody has them anyway.
That's true too, that's true.
Well, and that's another reason I
That's
think,
another reason why
to
it'd be
update
good.
this
Yeah,
kinda.
yeah, and just get
Yep.
ourselves.
Because personally,
You're right.
I have yet to, and I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but I do not reply to emails. I have no problem receiving an email, and then I take that email, whether or not I need to talk to Lois, so we bring it up in here in a meeting, but I don't use an email as a tool to communicate back and forth. I just don't think that's the way we should do things, but that's my personal opinion, that's not, you know, so that's how I do it, but it is handy sometimes to have it, but.
Yeah, I mean, when we
Mhm.
do a document around.
Yeah, or if
Yeah,
one of us
like
wants
minutes
to
and-
send a question to Maine Municipal, you
Yeah.
should be able to do that.
Yeah.
It is a public document,
Right,
so there should be a record of it, and
that's true, and then we don't have to worry about it being
Pulling
on
it out,
ours
yep.
forever and ever.
Yep. So that's just a thought.
You could actually get like 3 tablets and preload them with this email address, and then you get assigned the tablet. And that way, whatever's on that tablet is town information, and when you're done, you turn it in. But it's
Yeah.
only for town information, I mean,
I already have a phone and I have a
Yeah, I don't
tablet
want
and I have
another
a
device.
laptop.
But if
And I set up
I,
at my desk at work.
I'd be willing to check it every day, if I have to go in to do, that's fine.
that's just a recommendation, I know some towns, the boards are issued laptops for,
Yeah, I can
because
see where
they're
they would
board
be.
members, period, and it's the towns.
And honestly, nowadays, when you look at those mini tablets with a hard keyboard that snaps on, it's basically a mini laptop and you're spending, what, $99?
Yeah,
I mean, they're not much money.
right.
I mean, that is possibly a thought too,
I
yes.
mean, if we could cut down on paperwork too, I mean, but, you know, like,
I know,
this
just
type of thing.
sign. That's-
yeah, I mean, you have to sign it, but just all these sorts of things that, and whatever, I don't know.
Well, honestly, that's why we're going in the same direction, because that's what I thought of before. That's why I would like to see like a 70-inch TV up on the wall.
Right.
Not so we can sit around and watch Netflix, but
Right.
all of this stuff, if you had a laptop, we'd never have to print it. I mean,
Right,
some of this stuff would be good if you had it in an like this from the Army Corps of Engineers. If you had this in an email, you could always go back and reference it and everything else. But as far as in a meeting, as conversation or whatever, if you had it, you could put it up on the screen and I think it would be better if we ever did have people that came, you know, everything would be up there for them as well. But
yeah,
that's
because a lot of times we spend a long time talking about something that they,
don't-
They can't even reference
no,
it.
no,
Yeah.
Right,
right. And you know, you're not gonna make 10 copies for nobody who shows up, anyone who, so.
Good future thought.
Yeah, it is, I mean, it is a bit of an expense.
It is.
The other thing along that lines was, when we updated the provider, we've changed some email addresses, and as a result of that, my wife no longer has access to the website, which is perfectly fine with me and her. But it occurred to me that maybe it would make sense to have the clerk have access, the ability, so
Yeah.
if you're out or vacation, and we wanna get something posted or changed, that the clerk could do that.
Yeah, we've talked about that this week, and, because from the time that Terry showed me how to use it to now, they did some upgrades to that, so I'm taking her directions and updating them, and Doreen and I have talked
Good.
about, whoever, and all of the passwords on my computer are in a little folder in the vault, so if I'm not there, they do know how to get into my computer with all the passwords and
Okay.
everything. And so that stuff has already
So we've
been
got a
done.
backup system there.
Yeah, we do have that. I just didn't have them, I hadn't given them new directions on website or anything like
So
that.
who's maintaining the website right at present? Oh, you are,
Yep.
you are. Aha.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So is that since we got the new provider?
Yes,
Or-
Pretty much, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why she doesn't, because my email still works to log in. I log in tmsangerville@myfairpoint.net with whatever password Terry set up for me, and it goes
Yeah,
every day
she
and
tried
it does
to,
it.
post the workshop, because you were out of town, and, she just couldn't get in, that's when, other than that, she didn't have a reason to go in.
All right.
And that's how it, then I spoke to, Doreen, and she, at that point, she didn't,
No.
so that was
So,
that was what
yeah.
the catalyst was for this.
I see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a good,
Yeah.
to have a backup.
And I've written out specific click-by-click directions on converting audio to video.
Yep.
And uploading the whole process, because the town has a YouTube account. I had to set up a YouTube account. And so, and again, all of those passwords and everything are in that
Yep.
little notebook thing.
People are
in the-
listening to those meetings,
Really?
yep.
Yeah,
Yep. It's not a huge number,
Right,
but
but-
if you, every week, I'll go in and check, and there's usually 7 or 8 that have,
Wow.
so just because the room's empty,
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't mean it's, the
Yeah,
people
well,
are not.
especially during the winter, it's a real nice service.
Yep,
For,
yeah, and you can pause it, go get a cup of tea, come back and finish, I
Yeah.
think there's quite a few people that are checking in,
yeah, good. Well, I'm glad.
yep.
That's good.
I could change up the picture every once in a while, see if anybody notices.
What is this,
So it
this
should be
town?
at least seasonal.
Yeah, yeah.
Snow, no snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really drives me crazy when I'm driving to Boston, and it shows, I'm with the GPS, and it shows, it's all green grass, when you're supposed, you know
Yeah,
how you GPS.
yeah, where's that?
Yeah, I'm like, it doesnn't look like that.
Doesn't look like a golf course to me.
One other quick thing, when you was talking about the rec committee,
Yeah,
in playground equipment,
yeah,
one thing that we've mentioned a few times is a different direction or a possible different layout of that area up there with the driveway and the concerns we have as far as, with the traffic flow up through the middle. And I really think that if that's something that the board wants to get moving on, that we ought to have an actual talk with the rec committee. And so they understand the thought process and what we're thinking and why we're thinking that, and if it's to see if the two come together on this.
well, and it's not just the playground in the front, there's a playground on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I put that in.
Further in the back,
Mhm.
between the two fields. Well, some of that equipment, the insurance, when they did their inspection last year, said that needs to go, that needs to go, that needs to go. And so they want to replace it. They don't want to just rip it out and not have anything, so that's kind of where this whole idea had started, was because they had to rip some of that out, but now they really want to update it and,
So this might be a really good time, if you're
Yeah,
gonna reconfigure,
sure,
you
yeah.
reconfigure before you plant new,
That area over
Toys.
there, I mean,
Toys.
honestly,
Yeah.
I was involved with the rec committee back then, and I dug the holes, I put that stuff in with Jimmy. But we put that over there because there's no more room out front. The idea was to expand the playground, and then they bought the equipment, and then we don't really have a good place to put it. So that was the only footprint that was available, and it worked. The kids do use it, I've seen them over there, but it's kind of like way out of the way. And I think with what we've been talking about with moving the driveway, that is gonna open up a pretty big piece of area right up through the middle that might be a really good spot to put a playground,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and I'm also gonna be applying for the grant for new docks, so if we wanna consider putting that all in there at the
There'll be another
same time.
reconfigure, yep.
I really wanna move the boat landing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
That's
why I just brought that up,
Yeah.
because that is on my agenda to apply for
I
that
mean,
grant too.
I would like to see that is when you go over that bridge, over Carlton Stream, I don't know how much, what we got for room there, but the closest to that stream we can, we put a driveway.
Yeah,
And you pull in and you go right straight to the pond.
yeah,
And right straight to the pond, and you would have your boat landing right there on one side. You'd still have public access if they wanted to have a barbecue or go swimming or whatever. But
Yeah.
it would keep everybody away from
And
those
no more
fields.
driving in the middle.
No more driving in the middle.
yeah,
I mean, I can really see where somebody's gonna get hurt. I mean, you take the days when we drive by there and there's cars lined up everywhere and, you know,
Yeah.
that many kids running back and forth that honestly are not supervised.
Right.
Nothing against anybody, but there's so much going on because they have such a good program that nobody can watch all of those kids.
right.
You know, when you throw the boats in there and all the cars and.
Now, are you talking about the boat landing on Manhattan?
Yes.
So where are you thinking? Where do you
Like
wanna move it?
basically right where the swimming area is.
Oh.
You'd have to clean out those trees and
Yeah.
things there. You'd
Where
kinda
we,
have to.
basically, where the blocks are, the rocks are blocking access now, would
Yeah,
be,
with the little beaches.
Yeah.
So how would you get in there with your boat? I mean, you'd have to,
It's a pretty big area, I think you could, and I'm just saying that
Oh.
area, but I'm saying if you drove from the road and we'd wanna stay from between the new field
right,
and the boat, in the stream, so you'd go straight down, but that distance from where the road is now, where the rocks are, from there to the water is a pretty good sized piece of property. There should be plenty enough room. There's actually already a big loop in there. It'd have to be cleaned up and it'd be
Right.
even better, but, so what I was thinking is you would still have that loop, and then kind of to the left of that spot where you would have your boat landing, and kind of leave the beach part where the beach part is now.
oh.
Is what I was,
see.
I mean, I haven't got in there with a tape measure to
No,
see
no, no,
what
right,
fits
right,
and what don't.
okay.
But I just think that having that boat landing where it is now
Yeah,
is
right,
with the direction of what the park
Right.
is doing, I just don't think
Yeah.
it fits.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Yep.
kind of project where we're gonna want a specific parks committee to, and maybe we tap the resources of some of our local contractors, somebody like a Brian Howard if he had time. People that, or Chummy, or people who know how to move earth.
But we're gonna need the planning board involvement, because I mean.
Yep.
oh, yeah,
We're gonna
that's
need
true.
as close to that stream as we can get up through there.
Yeah,
And I think it's the right step forward because, I mean, that is a lot of nice waterfront property. We're not utilizing any of that. And I think that's
Yeah,
another
sort of
part of
develop
the,
it.
yeah.
Just develop it, and, yeah, that's what it needs.
Even if you just cleaned it up, more areas where you could have picnic tables or
Right,
whatever, but
right.
I think it could be used and would be used.
Mm-hmm,
But with the focus of keeping the traffic in a safer area for the actual park.
yeah, that's
Or
If
great.
you think about it, it's kind of what Dexter did with, basically all the traffic is behind where everybody's recreating.
Yeah, yeah,
And they've
Yeah.
got room there to park a few boats, so people wanna go during the day, so that would be kind of that approach, we'd be
Same
north of the
idea.
gazebo with the
Yep.
road, and so, and
But the same way in Dexter too, is if you go up to the, I can't remember the name of the field, but it's up by where the buses are and everything.
Crosby Park.
They've got all of their sports fields, then they have a huge playground in there.
Yep.
But all the parking is way over here.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what activity.
Nobody's driving through the middle of the
No.
fields.
yeah,
And there's plenty of room there, you easily could have done that, and you could have made a nice shortcut, because for the school, you actually have to drive all the way
Yep.
down and around to get there, but
Yep.
they didn't do that, and
Yeah.
I know that has to be why, with,
Yep.
you know, just.
No, in fact, now you got even the Terrio field out on the Zions Hill Road, there's some big ball fields up there, and there's a horse arena up there, they use,
Wow.
all, that's set up the same way. All the traffic comes in one way and nobody,
So
you're not
somebody
driving between
knew what
tennis
they were doing
courts,
when they-
exactly.
when they
We
laid
went
it
and
out.
bifurcated, cause we bought the piece of property
Uh-huh.
and didn't adjust the road.
yeah,
So we kinda got out
Yeah,
of sequence a
yeah,
little.
yeah.
But this is a great time, if we're gonna
yeah,
docks
step.
and equipment, this is the time to address it.
Right,
Yeah.
I think it'd be good. And I know, I mean, we already heard it the other night about people being able to drive to the backfield, and I don't wanna take that away from anybody, but all you have to do is go to Dover. once your kids are in middle school sports, when you drive by the academy, you can see the football field. Then in behind that is a baseball field. And then in behind that is a soccer field.
That's right.
I mean, and it's,
Well,
it's not flat.
On the back side of the
Yeah.
hill, on the bottom is where
Yeah,
the juniors, the
Yeah,
JV
yeah,
soccer
I know.
field is.
I never knew that field was there.
That's where, I mean, my daughter's played field hockey back there the
Yeah.
whole time. And it's not a good
It's not-
walk. You walk up through, it's not only it's uphill, but
Right.
it's tipped. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a long walk.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, and in Corinth, their public parks, they have that one parking area where the town office is, and you walk all the way to, they have what, 4 or 5 fields,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you walk.
No,
And it's the same way at Corn School when you go to that.
Yeah.
When you stop and you
Yeah.
get out of your car, it's one field, another field, another field, and another field.
Yeah,
You know, they're not,
Yeah.
they're laying them out, keeping.
you don't get to drive to the 50-yard line on each
right.
field. Well, I think that's it's gonna be for us, it'll be a pretty big project, but I think it's something we need to look at. I mean, if it's, ultimately, we're gonna have to ask for money, but we're gonna have to figure out how much money and see what the interest is. But I think now's the time to do it.
I just think safety wise, it's something that really, really needs to be.
Yeah, and I don't like the friction that, you know, the people that are using the waterfront, whether they're boating or they just wanna walk on the beach, they have as much right to use that as the folks that are, and I understand, you know, we're talking about even put speed bumps in to try to, that's to me is not the solution.
No.
We need to reconfigure it, if we can afford it, or if we wanna spend the money, so.
But my thing is the road that we have, we already know, it's not a spring road, it's not a late fall road. You know, there's not, over the years, there's been some gravel put in the front part, which is still gonna be able to be used as a parking area. But that road itself, up through the middle, is not much more than a little bit of gravel over a piece of lawn.
Cart path.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You close that gate and cut your traffic and seed it and it'll grow.
Yeah, yep.
but
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
you
if you don't cut the gate, you know what happens, I mean, that turns into.
Yeah.
Oh, so there
Mud.
you go.
Yep.
So, what is the acreage there? Do we know?
I can't remember how many acres.
Was the Wells property itself, I think, was 15.
That's what I thought, I was gonna say.
Wow.
It's not a small piece of property,
Wow.
Yeah,
I think.
I didn't realize it was.
yeah.
It's one of the most, honestly, it's for in town, in the area, it's one of the more valuable acreages without all the waterfront.
Wow.
So,
Huh, wow. Yeah, so it really deserves to be developed
I think so,
properly,
yes, I
really,
think so.
going forward. Because it could be so nice. I mean, it is nice, but it can
it could
be.
be,
Yeah,
We're really, I think we're just tapping the
Yeah.
edge of what it potentially could be.
yeah.
Well, look at that, we had all kinds of
We
agenda
got
items,
lucky.
we didn't even know it.
No, that's good.
Anything else?
no, it's not.
On to new business, and today we're gonna talk about paving.
I specifically put it out because we wanted to make sure we knew what the prices were when we got to town meeting.
Oh, yes.
For the extra 100,000. And you can see, the most expensive was $97 a ton, and the cheapest is $67.58. I think last year we paid, I'm guessing between 65 and 68 last year to Pike. And, you know, they all had the same information. You know, we're gonna do a half a mile overlay on Silver's Mills, 1.17 miles. Shim, 1-inch shim, 1.5 overlay on feeders, 20 foot wide. So they all had the same information. And then I said an additional, we don't know the distance, we won't know until after town meeting what our budget's gonna give us, but we're considering starting on the East Sangerville Line Road. So these are the prices. These prices are only for the Silver's Mills and McFeeters. So that's all of Silver's Mills and McFeeters in this price.
So that's what the tonnage estimate, that's what they were making that estimate
Yes,
for.
yes, yeah.
How close is, because I guess I haven't paid attention, but how close has Pike been to their estimate for us? Have you kind of followed that as far as for tonnage on shim?
Oh, on the tonnage, I haven't, but I can pull that up
That'd
and,
be, because I mean, it's nothing like for or against them or not, but
right,
I've
We've
seen
used
these
them.
numbers, well, I've seen these numbers many times, and whenever you see different contractors, yes, you end up with a different tonnage price, but the amount of tonnage that they're quoting you is an estimate. And it's, I'm not saying one is better or not than the other, but as you can see, I mean,
It is
there's
interesting that theirs is the lowest
a
number.
couple 100 ton here,
yeah,
so
that is an
I'm just,
Well,
how
and-
close is Pike?
Shay and I
have-
had that conversation via email, and I think it's the way they calculate butt joints and,
Oh,
just an overage, just in case, or some kind
well,
of
the
waste.
shim
or-
is, the shim is 100% off your cuff. I mean,
Exactly.
it's you driving the road and you kinda eyeballing what you feel or think it's gonna be.
So when
So-
they put that shim in, it's there.
That's the estimate.
Cause then you got a flat surface pretty much.
Right.
So then an
Okay.
inch,
So then
an
they
inch
just-
is an inch.
Then they do a math, you're gonna do so many feet wide, it's gonna
I
be so
see,
thick,
I see.
this is how much you're gonna use.
Ah,
But the shim is where your experience to how close you can drive a road and you guess or feel, or, I don't know the word to use there, but.
right.
But, that's me, when I read these numbers, that's where I always figure that's where the difference is.
Right,
But it is interesting that Pike is this lowest, and yeah, when I looked at this, I couldn't figure out why, but I figured, but I thought, are they all bidding on the same thing, why is it so different? But there's the answer, that's,
right,
they're bidding on the same thing.
right.
I'm actually surprised they're that close for that distance. I mean, that's
Well, that's good then.
quite a bit of road to
But
be
the
guessing.
key is, we know that Pike they've done work for us 2 years in a row now.
Correct.
And so if you had a piece, that the Hartford Lane to here, and they had estimated X number of ton,
Did
you
they?
got slips, how many ton was it?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
right.
would be, I'd really be fascinated.
Yeah,
It would
yeah.
be, just to
To
kinda
see.
understand how
Yeah.
close they are.
Right.
Because other than that, the tonnage estimate means nothing.
Correct.
No, it just, honestly, once you kinda got a comfort zone of who's right.
Well, if you, once you
Right.
know, they know, right, then you
Right.
can rely on that number.
Right.
But in theory, the reality should end up being the same no matter who does it.
Well, but
Yes
what if
and no,
somebody
but
puts
some-
more shim down?
But some puts more, it's your,
I've seen, that's where you
and
can.
waste, some just dump it.
Well, the top two obviously believe, they're looking at it pretty much the same way.
I think they're all.
2210 versus 2280.
Yeah, that's so close.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
within
Close.
the
That's
margin of
amazing.
error,
That's
here or
amazing.
there. So,
But then you got two that are exactly the same, so that's even.
Wow.
yeah, right to the.
Well,
floor.
because they took the actual figures and they didn't estimate anything else, they just,
Oh, okay.
They just know main roads that on a shim, this is on average what I'm gonna put out.
well, they used their formula.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying,
That's
is
what they did.
they probably know that old roads, this is all, they might be off on this one, but they're gonna be over on pretty close,
Yeah.
so.
Have you ever worked with Thibodeau? Have we ever had him that you know
I think so, but I'm not positive, I'd have to do some asking.
of? I know we've had Wellman,
B&B, isn't that?
and we've had B&B.
They did your road,
Wellman did it too.
okay?
Wellman did it the last time that we did the,
Grinding.
yeah,
No, that was B&B.
that was B&B?
The one that did go past yours and up the big hill.
This was right in front of my house.
Yep, no, alright, we had it paved after that.
Yep.
We did the next section down.
I know
Down by the
because,
guide rails, we started right by his driveway, went by the cemetery and up the hill,
That
was
around the
B&B.
infamous corner.
when
That
we,
was B&B.
when we bid it, we, for some reason, didn't require that they clean up the debris. So there were pieces of asphalt
Oh,
the size of this flipped over on your lawn. And Warren ended up coming out there with one of their little tractors and throwing asphalt into the bucket to clean it up. So that, and I think that was Wellman. But I don't know that it was Wellman's fault, it was just the way, I was told at the time, well, if you wanna pay more for paving, then, so, anyway. But I just wondered if we'd ever had Thibodeau, if you remembered that.
I think they do a lot.
I think I remember the
Yeah.
name, but
aren't they where do they come out of? Do you?
Bangor area.
Oh,
It's Bangor, Old Town Orono,
Oh,
Milford, that area of Ontario.
oh,
He actually
yeah.
called and said,
You want a
because
bid?
he was, yeah,
You're looking for work?
Yeah.
Interesting.
he'd been to
Good for him.
Skowhegan and somebody in Skowhegan told him we were,
Whoa,
so the
Good.
word gets out.
That's
It-
great.
So,
Well, we've been doing a
That's-
fair amount of paving 2
Yeah.
years in a row.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
That's-
I'm very happy with, I don't wanna, would never say anything bad about Pike, I think they've done a really good job for us. The only thing that is a concern, the way we've fallen with Pike, is their scheduling to be able to get us done.
yep,
Yep. That's the only negative thing that,
Well,
and I
and
understand, they're very busy, we hire somebody at that level, and
that price per ton is gonna be hard to beat. I mean,
it's gonna
that
require some phone calls.
6750 versus
Yeah.
74 is gonna add up.
Yeah,
I mean, their tonnage estimates can be what they are,
Right.
but,
Well, it's that,
assuming they're, I'm sure they both are professionals, they know exactly what they're doing, it's gonna be very hard for Pike not to cost $10,000 or $12,000 more.
yep,
yep.
That's, it's not, it's not like a 2%
no,
difference.
no, that's,
you know, it's $6.42.
Yeah, it's almost a 10% big. It's gonna add up, and it reflects it in their estimate, so.
yeah, because, yes, it does.
Well, if you just go, the difference between the two on 2,200 yards is $14,000.
Yep,
It is, that's pretty
It's almost
substantial.
10%.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, with that price, it's gonna be awfully hard not to give them a shot,
Right,
I suspect.
right.
Uh,
And the fact that,
how long are these prices good for? Did any of them qualify that?
That's an interest, so, why I was chuckling, I took the difference between the two, multiplied it by the 2,200 yards, then divided it back by the
and what did you come up with?
67, 208 free, if we went with them,
Oh,
so. That little bit of difference over that amount is how much more we could get that.
yeah.
Now, Pike did put a note on his, because I asked for quotes, it was not a bid, it says prices are not actual bid prices, but are for budget purposes.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was specifically noted on Pike's.
Did anybody else note that way, or?
No, everybody else thinks it's a bid,
Okay.
even though I used the word quote. And I specifically said, this is what we actually complete will be,
Sure.
determined from town meeting budget.
And this isn't assuming we get another 100,000. Your spread just keeps getting wider and wider the more you do.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly your point.
So it's like the town giving you 112,000.
Right, right.
So,
These would, the way I'm reading it, these are the actual prices that they would charge us for the other, because these are the actual estimate sheets where you would sign.
Yep,
Oh.
so everybody
that-
but Pike.
Well, Pike did the same thing, but he specifically noted right here.
Right, so you
That
can't,
it's just.
so that
that's-
tells me that when it comes time for you to
It
actually do
Could
this,
be,
you
we're gonna have to
might
get a
call
bid.
and you may be able to come down, or maybe go up. I mean,
Right, right.
cause he's not, if it's only that way for that purpose, he's not willing to stand by that.
Right, right.
But it could be good or bad, I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
nobody said anything about time restrictions, like we can't do it till fall, or we're tied up until
No,
July. Or,
No, they would prefer to make sure it's done in the springtime, because again,
I'm really
everybody.
gonna try this year to get
Well,
our
we gotta
paving
get-
done. Or,
We've gotta
We gotta
get
get Seth on
McFeeters
McFeeters.
under control as far as, and just
Yeah.
because it is a
Yeah.
little complex, it's not
yeah.
Yeah,
ditching 101,
right.
right?
I don't
Oh,
think
yeah,
you
I'm
can do a
guessing.
lot of ditching up there, really.
I know, but we gotta make sure it's, whatever we do is.
All that
Right?
it's in town, that's what we have to do, is whatever we're going to do is in town.
Right.
The other, he did do.
Yeah, he did that
Yeah.
all, it's all done,
But I
right
mean,
down
on
to the
it-
swamp.
But he doesn't have, how, do you think he has 2 or 3 weeks work, or weeks work? What do you think that really entails?
I think there's,
Probably only a week.
I think it depends on what you're gonna do, because
Well, that's
If
a
you-
question, what is it, yeah.
if you drive up that road, if you look at basically your road side, that side of it, it's the high side. But when you drive up there in the summertime, that whole side needs to be shaped because all of those lawns now, they roll up to the road. So it's, the water can't get away from the road. I wouldn't say it's a ditch going up through there, but it needs to be reshaped and all of that. But when you come down the low side of the road, there's never been a ditch put in through there. And those lawns all taper and do we wanna get down through there and actually dig a ditch and take
Or is there a
every
ledge?
lawn and
I thought there
every-
was ledge.
Some
and that was
places
one-
there are
There's
ledge.
a little bit of
Little bit of
ledge in
ledge.
there, but
But we
But
just
we
have
need to
make
get
sure-
with him,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
I would say in March, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah, that's gotta be like first on his spring agenda, right?
Yeah.
I think
so.
shaping it is, the size
gonna
is the
be-
key.
right.
To let the water get away from it.
Sure.
Cause that, when's the last time that road was hot topped? I mean,
I've
that's,
owned our land for 20 years.
Never been.
No.
and I
No.
I lived on that road more than that. I don't remember it either, so that's why I
It's
was,
You
so
rode your
bad.
bike on that one.
yeah. It's been a while. And
You
so,
could
think,
never
alright, so,
skateboard on that
but
road.
just,
Let's just
but
put
think
that.
about it that way, but that's
Right,
what I'm
right,
thinking
right.
is, that
Yeah.
road is 20
Oh.
plus years guaranteed, the way it is.
Yeah.
Without doing the ditching, and it's survived 20 years, and from what we've seen.
Barely.
Other roads that only had probably an inch of hot top when they did them 20 years ago. If we shaped it and actually paved it the way we're doing now, it's guaranteed it's gonna last another 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
It'll look better 20 years from now than it does today.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, and no, I'm not worried about, it's just, Rick Pellerin is concerned about drainage into his house.
Yeah, in fact, he wouldn't be a bad
But
person.
he's the one I don't
because we're
think wants
working
the
on this.
ditch.
He doesn't get it, he doesn't, you
But I'm
can't have
just-
it both, right.
that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes, yeah, you can't have it both ways, you can't say, oh, I don't want my front lawn ditched, and then complain about your house, your.
The drainage needs
In
to
order
be adequate before we put the pavement
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
That's just,
I know
Well,
Phil
I
Martin
think the-
complains too.
really?
Yep.
Well, I think the question isn't so much the pavement on it's not the drainage off from the road, it's the drainage on their house side is what they're concerned about. Cause right now it's coming off the road and it goes right in the driveway or it comes right across their lawn and,
Right,
correct.
right,
If you pave it or not, it's gonna, if you don't put a ditch in, that's still gonna happen.
right,
Yeah.
right,
yeah,
But it's not
even
gonna
more
hurt the
so.
pavement- But it's not gonna hurt the pavement a bit. It's not gonna affect the pavement.
no, I mean, no,
The ditching is to get the water away from the houses, not.
right,
not
right,
away
not
from
the
the
road,
pavement.
no, right, yes,
Correct.
you're right, yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that if we're gonna work on that road, we need to make it so right, so that we don't have people
Yeah.
flooded.
Uh,
But it's gonna have to be ditched.
I don't believe, but there again, you got ledge and I don't think you can, so,
Oh, okay,
but either way,
well, we'll see what
gonna have
Zach
to
can
get somebody to
do.
look at it and see what
Yeah.
they say, but.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I can,
it's
I
period.
can hear everybody, they all say this now, but when you go up through there.
With
and
a big
When you
excavator.
take, you're gonna put a ditch in, so you measure from the
Some
hot
will lose
top.
half their lawn.
They're gonna
Yeah.
lose over half their lawn,
I know,
and they're gonna lose all those trees.
Well, and the thing that you have to remember too is there's town water and sewer, so you have to be careful.
oh, yeah, that's right.
About
Oh,
how
that's in the
deep?
hot, that's underneath the hot top, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I think it's, I mean, if it's anything like ours, it's 2 or 3 feet down, but still, you still gonna
It's going
have to
to
be
the
careful.
houses, it's going
And-
across
yeah,
the lawn to the house.
Yeah,
We didn't have, Phil never looked at that project.
no,
Might be.
Mm.
I mean, you're
But
talking,
I think he'd come watch
you're
it.
talking culverts, how many driveways are up through there? There isn't even there's no ditch.
There's no
culvert.
driveway culverts, are there?
No.
No,
You're talking about, in
You'd
order
have to do them all.
You'd have to do them all.
I think Phil's the only one that actually has a driveway culvert.
yeah, he does, actually.
He does.
Yeah, he
Cause it's
does,
popping up.
yeah, yeah.
But there's a huge tree there, I mean, you can't ditch because there's a tree,
Oh, no, the tree's gotta go.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
is-
they just did it on Spring Street in Dexter.
Yeah.
So that was a state job, they took them all.
That's what you're talking about.
And on my little chunk right here, the massive popple trees, they need to go,
Yep. Yep.
they need to go.
But the
I'm
ditch,
happy.
the ditch would be on the other side.
But
It'd
is
be on
it-
Phil
You
side.
don't,
Curtis,
shouldn't
wasn't
it be on
it?
both
Phil
sides or
Curtis.
no,
Yeah.
it needs to be
You'd
on the low
It'd be
side?
on the low side,
Ah, oh,
Right.
okay.
wouldn't
You
it?
would, well,
I don't know.
I thought you'd put
I
it on
don't, the
both
other side we
sides.
know is ledge.
Ah, the high side?
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, oh,
the high
oh,
side
oh,
is ledge.
okay.
Mm.
Oh, boy. Well, so it isn't, as I said, ditching.
But Dale's point, and I think it has been what it is
Right.
for 20
Right.
years, and it probably was not nearly as substantial paving to start with as what we're
Talking about.
planning on.
Right,
So if we tweak it,
right.
it's probably gonna
Be
hold
okay.
up reasonably well, without a major engineering project. But I do think if Phil Curtis and
Right.
people could look at it, But I can't believe that Seth couldn't get that ready
Yeah.
so that we can get paving while there's no frost. That's all.
The story that I heard, in order to ditch that, you gotta lift the road about 2 feet. So, if you
So
wanna,
basically you
if you wanna,
You're
create
making
the
it-
ditch this way.
Yeah.
correct, so if you wanna kinda put it into perspective,
That would work.
it would work, but we know
We can't
what
afford
it
that.
costs to lift
Yeah,
a
we
small
can't.
section.
Yeah.
You know, and there again, when that statement was made, and I said, I don't think that's gonna work. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, because I'm just envisioning these landowners with the space of lawn they have. If you go up 2 feet, that means you're gonna go out 2 feet, and then you're gonna go out for a ditch past that, you know,
Yeah, they're not gonna be happy.
there's not gonna be a tree
Yeah.
left up there.
Right.
No.
In order for any of that to happen, the first thing is all the trees gotta go. And I just.
Are they all in the town way? Those
Well,
trees?
most of those trees are pretty
I think it's a
close.
3-rod road, so it would be 25 feet from the center line.
And I honestly, I don't think it matters, because if the town had to put a ditch up through there, and if there's a tree past that's in the way for us to put the ditch,
Yeah.
I think it's gotta go.
Right,
I don't think a
Right.
landowner can say, you can't put your ditch
Right,
in
right.
because I own that tree,
right, yeah,
you know, but
yep, wow.
this might be a scenario of, we need to do what we can do to make it
Yep.
better
Yep,
without,
yeah, a little bit of
Spending a-
compromise.
I mean, none of our roads are
No.
spec roads,
No,
so that's
No.
just the way it is.
unfortunately, that road ends up getting used as a cross-through, to go to Parkman. A lot of times trucks don't wanna go all the way through Guilford.
but think about that though.
What?
You've been 20 years on that old hot top with all that traffic.
That's
It's
true,
open
that's a
up.
good point. And,
I mean-
and obviously, if we make it really nice, they're all gonna use that.
Yeah,
So we
it'll
don't-
get use, for
Yeah,
sure.
we don't want that either.
Well-
It's one of the higher use roads around, actually.
Yeah, so, okay,
All right, so
Well,
that's,
so I think one of the takeaways that we want to look
Sure.
at on the paving prices is, we can get McCedars and Silver's Mills done for just about the 150,000
right,
that
that's,
we
yeah, good point.
plan to budget. So the 100,000, for East Sangerville, we should be able to do some culverts out of our regular budget. And so that extra 100,000 we could probably put into paving.
Great,
yep,
very good.
and another year or two at this pace, we'll be catching up,
Yeah, yeah.
which is good.
So this was just for our budgeting
Just budgeting purposes,
Right,
that's the way
Or in
I
our
sent the
budget.
email, I mean, I have a
Okay.
copy of it here.
so we don't wanna lock anybody in yet, we're not
Right,
ready for that.
No, I mean, that really,
Yeah,
we're
I'd
kind
rather
of,
have the conversation once you go through town meeting and you know exactly how much you
Okay.
got to spend.
right,
yeah,
I mean,
Because-
it's not gonna be worse than this,
Right.
so,
right.
But to be able to spend 150 or 250, that might make a difference on
Good.
what you're gonna do.
that's right.
You know, somebody might get a little hungrier with that kind of out there.
Yeah, that's true.
okay, old business, update on tax acquired property.
So we have just the one parcel, that's going out to bid. It is the Jordan property. It's, state, as you know, passed a new law. If you're over 65, when it goes to lien, then, they have the right to ask the town to hire a real estate agent to sell it at fair market value. And so that law went into effect December 13th. And so even though our foreclosure date was prior to that, we're not selling it now until after the December 13th date. It's being recommended that we follow the state statute. So I have sent the application to the owner of record. I also sent at the same time, because we have the personal property, they have the right to come in and take their personal property. That's going out in the mail tomorrow, because they have 21 days to claim their personal property. So hopefully within 30 days, we can put this out to bid. But to do that, I've been working on it so that it will be ready in 30 days, a minimum bid that you would like to consider. If they opt not to, ask us to hire a real estate agent, what do you want to start with, a minimum bid?
So, I read this law, but I'm not, I wanna be clear on how it works, and I'm not sure you guys
I
did
don't
read
know,
it.
no, I don't.
My understanding is now, any equity beyond the tax liability goes back to the owner.
Oh.
So it's a huge change.
Oh, wow.
But it's only available to you if you're over 65 years of age.
Yeah, you have to be over 65, immediately prior to foreclosure, at least one owner must have been at least 65 on the date the lien was recorded. And you must have received a homestead exemption immediately preceding foreclosure. Your income for the calendar year immediately preceding the year it was foreclosed on must have been less than 40,000 after deducting all medical expenses. And your liquid assets must be less than 50,000.
So how do we
If it's a single
substantiate
person.
all of those
Oh,
variables?
yeah.
There's an application process, I didn't
Okay.
print
Okay,
a
so that was
copy,
what you- when
but
you
they
said
have to
application.
provide, they have to provide
All that
documentation. Yes, and, the first thing, there's a box right on the application, it has 2 items, and if they can't check both of those items, then they don't qualify for that. And so one of the first questions is, one of the owners the property must be owned and occupied by the owner.
Is this
And
one occupied?
not by the owner.
Oh.
So this may not fall under this new,
Correct.
okay.
Correct.
All right.
So, but I do have to still
Yeah,
give
go
a
through
CYA and.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
no, it's interesting.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
I always thought it was this way. When I got
Yeah,
this,
this is what you
seat,
thought at the beginning.
I could not believe
Yeah,
that you could have an $800 tax bill and lose a $100,000 house.
Wow.
yeah.
I was
It
shocked
was
by
a
that.
struggle for Mike. to get
Just
to
didn't seem fair.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But you still have to be over 65?
Yeah, it's
to
pretty
get this-
fine, narrow needle that you gotta
Yeah.
thread.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not over 65, I mean, you can still lose it,
Sure.
period.
Right, yeah.
But,
64 and 364 days,
Your
Yeah.
$200,000 house goes up for auction.
yeah,
and you get nothing.
and you get nothing.
Zip.
Wow.
So along with the form though, do they actually,
Wow.
you know, I understand it's a form, they gotta fill this out. But do they have to provide the proof to back the information?
I
on the
didn't
form?
100% read the details on, yes, actually, supporting materials.
Okay.
You may respond to this notice by filing the enclosed application and supporting materials with the municipality.
But in this instance, they're gonna have a hard time even proving they live there because
Yeah,
they currently
they're
don't.
gonna get
Correct.
kicked out in the first 2
So,
boxes.
but
Check
we're gonna
boxes.
be dealing with it. That's kinda interesting.
Wow.
Well, and on a side note, this legislature could pull this new law. I know that there was some discussion that had last Wednesday not been a snow day, it was on the floor or on
Oh.
their agenda to be reviewed.
So there's some pushback.
So there is some pushback that this may or may not
Oh, that's interesting.
stay
So
in
there's some towns
effect.
that don't like this.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some
Well,
folks that
they-
like the way it's always been.
I mean, there were polls that came in through the listserv for managers based on this law. You know, and the questions were, how many people over 65 do you foreclose on? And I think the majority of people, nobody. It's not the 65 and older that don't pay their taxes. It's the other ones that don't pay their taxes because
Yeah,
that's how they were raised.
yeah.
You know, and for the couple that there were, you know, some towns here and there that might have had 1 or 2, the elderly resident said, I want you to foreclose on me. I want it gone so I can,
Move on.
yes.
And it's probably rare, but I think of the elderly person that's confused, has dementia, doesn't pay their tax bill, could have paid their tax bill,
Yeah.
and they end up
Losing.
this huge investment.
Yep.
And if not, it just affects them, it affects their whole estate, and it just doesn't seem right to me, but anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, that being said, if they do not complete within 30 days, that application, then we're gonna put it out to bid, and so you'll have to have a minimum bid. So I know the taxes owed on it right now are approximately $2,300.
Where is it?
It is on East Sangerville Road, it is 8 East Sangerville. It is
How many acres?
2.7 acres, it's a house.
I've seen this.
Yeah, it's,
Are the owners 65, older than 65?
they're in a nursing home.
Isn't it like the first house on the left?
I think so.
Oh.
It's Kelly Jordan's parents.
Okay.
And I believe his daughter actually lives there right now. But they don't want it. None of the kids want it. So none of them paid it.
How many square feet is it down?
It's a 1 acre lot.
No, I mean
No,
the
the
house.
house.
It is 875
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
on the first floor, and it looks like
Got a
it's
full dormer.
1 3/4, yeah. So
Oh, it's
So
2.7 acres, sorry.
2.7, yeah. And there's already interest on it,
Oh,
so
Alright, Mike, how come I'm not seeing square footage?
it's on here.
It's on
Yeah.
that,
Oh, there
it's
you
on
go.
that, on that side.
that
right.
sheet.
Yeah,
Page
Yeah.
2.
that's right.
That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
And what
I know
are
it's
the
on
taxes
tax
owed?
card.
The taxes owed are 2302 and change, and of course it goes up every day because of interest. So.
So has somebody currently been living in it or
Yes.
staying in it?
Yes.
So it's currently heated?
Yes, and in 2011, there was
The
a
numbers on the bottom give you
CDBG
some-
grant
Oh.
where they received, I think they received like a roof and windows, new roof and new windows back in 2011, so.
So when can we put this out for bid?
They have 30 days.
Okay, so we don't have to address this tonight,
Well, no, that
okay?
is correct.
Okay, so,
Because I'm
yeah, I'd like to think
thinking,
about it.
in our free time, we might swing by and just get a fair.
So it's on East St. Road?
Yeah.
East St.
It's the
Road.
very
So it-
first, you're gonna see it, it's the first one on the left, you swing.
Ah.
It's right there on the corner, it's on that intersection.
Huh,
It's clearly when, it's right there on Doughty.
yeah, yeah. Ah.
All right. The last one we had, was the owner had gone through bankruptcy and the folks that, they had a lien.
Oh, the other one,
Oh.
that was,
Yeah, and we didn't, they got an extension because of certain
Right.
circumstances.
right, because they had not been, the mortgage holder of record was never notified of the
That was it.
first lien. And so they had 90 days from notification of that lien to
Work something out.
work something out, and they ended up paying all of the taxes.
Is it still in his title?
Yes, it is still in his title. Funny side note is I got a phone call, and he doesn't want it. He thought the town had foreclosed on it because he hadn't paid the taxes.
So they kept it alive.
They kept it alive, so I
And now
told-
they're gonna try to work out something with him.
well, and I told him, I said, you need to talk to your, I said, I can't offer you legal advice. I said, you need to call your mortgage holder. This
Right.
is their phone number. I said, I'm sure they would probably accept
Sure.
a deed back for the property.
They probably would, yeah.
So,
But they don't have, I mean, he doesn't have to.
he doesn't have to, no, but,
But they could foreclose. They have a
Yes.
lien on that, so they could take
He
him to
can-
court
He
and
can sell it
prevail.
without being paid.
Right, they can't sell it, they can't
Correct.
sell it to anybody else but them
Correct.
getting paid.
correct,
So they're in a better position now.
yes, yes. So,
So did they pay everything, or did they just pay the?
everything.
Everything, okay, so they got all kinds of time to
Yeah,
do whatever they need to do. Well, that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
that was gonna be pretty painful.
yeah.
Stick-
All right,
Wow.
feasibility study.
And that's the other page that I gave you. I printed that right off the website. When we talked about this before, and I told you I had contacted the Army Corps of Engineers, they had given me what they call Section 14. It's an emergency stream bank protection, and it would be considered a new project. But to start the whole process of asking for their help, you have to send a request letter. And they actually sent me, I think it's right on this page, a sample. So I filled in this. But I had a question, there were a couple of questions that I had asked. First of was, they talk about, it says, when you say the project needs to be requested by the town, do you mean we need a town meeting vote or just a signed letter from myself or the board? That was my question. And he said, whether or not you need a town vote to have the town write a letter only you can answer. I would hope not. Once we get into the feasibility study, if it requires any cost sharing on behalf of the town, I would think at that point, votes might need to be taken as you'd be seeking some kind of authority to get it in the
Sure.
budget and spend
Yeah,
town funds.
makes total sense.
So I went with that, I wrote this, and then I was reading, after I read this, you'll see that the feasibility study, they cover 100% up to the first 100,000. And then after that, it's shared 50-50. And that's just a feasibility study. So I'm like, whoa, well, how much does a feasibility study cost anyway?
Oh, it can,
Well, he said,
it's the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
I said, so I asked
Yeah,
him,
they drill holes through mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
he says, great question. As an office, the New England district, we've made it a general practice to finish the entire section 14 feasibility study for that first 100,000 that isn't cost shared. Section 14 projects are typically small and not complicated. This is getting harder and harder to do though, with our own added process and the cost of salaries going up over time. That 100,000 just doesn't go as far. Every other continuing authorities program we work with has study costs that exceed the 100,000, and we end up signing a cost sharing agreement 50-50 with the local sponsor to cover those costs above that threshold. So this is where I am. I've got the letter prepared. Do you want to take the leap of faith that they're going to do it in the 100,000?
We can't get them to stop at 100,000?
I think,
But that letter doesn't mean you're gonna get a feasibility study done.
well, this is a request to do it
Correct.
right.
So you're gonna send a request, you're gonna get somebody that's gonna show up, they're gonna have an eye seeing the project, and at that time, I bet somebody's gonna be able to say, whoa, you're gonna be well over 100,000, or no, you're okay.
Just for feasibility.
Correct.
Right, but I would think they could, with $100,000, they could come up with a feasibility study on that project. You're not gonna fix it for 100,000.
Correct.
Correct.
But I suspect that it's not like drilling a hole through a mountain. I think they probably can assess that for 100 grand, but we won't know until they look
But
at it.
that letter is no commitment.
No,
No, we're
No,
just asking
right,
them to
it's a
come look.
request.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
There's-
Yep.
I would send that.
yeah,
Yep.
I think that's a great idea.
yeah.
Yep.
All right.
That's just getting the ball to get them to come, really.
I put your names on it because it says you designating, and I put me down as the point of contact.
Okay.
And in the first paragraph, the first couple of lines, if you want to change anything on that, just let me know. That's the wording of it was kind of a form letter, and you
Oh,
know,
you just
and
fill in
you
the
fill in the
blanks.
blanks.
That's great. See sample provided.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Location, nature of the problem.
You think?
Nothing jumped out at me, but I want Eagle Eye Cabot to read it.
And that's where I was headed too.
You want me to read it out loud?
No,
Oh,
I
oh.
want you to peruse it.
Oh,
it's just in the first couple of lines where you have to describe the damage or the erosion or,
okay.
the rest of it's all there, fill in the
Their
blank.
verbiage.
Yeah.
Concord, Mass.
It would be really great if they end up helping us with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Yes, cause that's in by the South Sangerville Grange, that old road. That's what I've always heard the story, that the Army Corps of Engineers were in there because that old floating bridge is sunk, and they had them in there to do a study about rebuilding that whole area and that road, and obviously it's probably might have gone over the amount because it never happened. But-
Yeah.
So it's not, they've been
The
here
Grange,
before.
not the Easler.
Correct. Yep.
I've started on the list of roads too that we wanted to get a quote on for. I think I've got 5 or 6.
So the
Or
second,
abandonment or discontinuance.
the second paragraph is what,
It's theirs.
this is just your description. I mean, it's perfect, it's fine. And it would only be like the danger that people are walking on the road and like could fall off a cliff. But, I guess it's good enough.
Yeah, just
You
to
know what I
see
mean?
there.
It's good enough to
Yeah.
get him
Get
here.
the ball
Yeah,
rolling.
okay.
That's my thought about it.
Okay, so we should sign this?
Yep. Do you need a motion for this letter?
Wouldn't hurt.
So I'll make a motion that we are going to send a letter to Mr. Kennelly at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to, is that good enough?
Yep.
Yeah,
Good enough.
Second.
Any
To
further
request-
discussion?
To,
yeah,
yeah,
request a
request it.
feasibility study.
right.
And
Possibility.
Dale seconded that, and we'll vote, and we're all in favor.
Okay.
C, personnel policy.
So Lois, you got my,
I did.
what we wrote down in the workshop?
I did have that. And there was a couple of things I wanted to address before you get to that. I mean, it's fine, but there was a comment that Mike made about that our clerks are overpaid.
I did?
Yep, you did. You did. And so here I did some.
I don't remember making that comment.
You did. I did
No,
a salary survey and,
I don't remember.
no, you
Well, I
did.
don't think they're overpaid.
Well, they're not.
Well, I don't
Our
think they are.
deputy-
I
Our deputy
honestly-
clerk is $3 under what the average is in Piscataquis County, and our clerk
No, I made a
is
reference.
$2 under.
It was me made a reference that under, ours are equal to national average. Well,
No,
I
I
mean-
don't remember hearing any of that. but
Well, I'll
those are
check the tape.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember saying about me.
No,
Dale did some research, that was the conversation, but I never did any research. I don't have any
Nah,
knowledge of
but I sit right
baseline.
here, and it's yours is the only voice I hear.
Well, I mean,
So-
obviously we tape it, so, you know,
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
that's not.
But just for the record,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have any idea, I don't have any point of reference. I
Well-
don't think they're
Well,
overpaid, because I
also,
don't know what
here's
everyone
the
else is
question.
paid.
Do you know what they get paid?
Nope,
So
I don't even know what they get paid.
So there's a salary survey.
What well,
averages.
do you wanna tell us what they get paid?
Well, I can tell you that.
I mean, are we supposed to know what they get paid?
I mean.
I don't think it matters.
I don't know
I
what
mean,
they get paid.
no, technically, probably, I don't know. But they don't make what these, by dollars, not just by cents, but by dollars, they're not anywhere near what Piscataquis County is paying.
Does that surprise you with your research?
Piscataquis County paying who? Like municipality or?
Yeah,
within
yeah, so that
municipalities?
is the listing, like Dover, Guilford, Milo, Greenville, I put Guilford
So-
on there twice for some reason, and Monson,
Okay.
for the clerk and the deputy clerk.
And,
So this
and,
is annual though, we don't know what their hourly is, we don't know how many hours they work.
No, that's hourly.
Oh, down at the bottom.
That's the average hourly. Well, I averaged it.
so, and do you get this from MMA?
Yeah.
This is stuff that you.
Every
can
town, every
access?
year, they get asked to fill out this, what they call a salary survey, and it's everybody. I mean, it's not just, it's firefighters, it's your
Yeah, actually, I've
ACO, it's
seen
your
that.
planning board. I mean,
When
it's,
I've been on MMA,
Yeah.
you know,
you have to get a special username and password
Right,
to
yeah.
access the actual survey, but, so, yeah. So I just, and I felt that by trying to change the personnel policy to give you the authority, except for the 2% that you're micromanaging, I just don't feel that it's, it already was in here that any additional performance-based would be approved by the board. I feel that historically speaking, your town meeting is the date the raises are supposed to take effect. That's in the majority of the towns that you talk to. That's why you budget, and you budget your raises. And if you had an issue with the raise, it should have been brought up at budget time, not in a personnel policy 24 hours before town meeting. That's kind of all I have to say. Putting that out there.
Well, I wasn't aware of any raise. Were you, I wasn't
No.
aware of a raise.
In the budget?
right.
When we met that first night, I said, this is the raise that I have calculated for this
In the
line
budget
in
committee.
the budget committee.
I do remember
And
you saying
you,
that.
at the last meeting, you said you looked at each other when we
yeah.
talked about the
That's right.
raises,
About that,
and that's
That's
why
right.
you
One I wasn't there.
arrived.
Right, but you may have had resources or requesting resources to
To,
contemplate a raise, but you haven't given anybody a raise.
No.
Well, that's what, so that's what
Okay.
I'm saying, no one's
I
got a raise.
haven't given them the raise, because I did that, and I shouldn't have the first time. And I agreed that I will wait until town meeting, because historically, that's when your raise is taken into effect. So when I calculated my projected or desire for their raises, that's the number that I put in the budget.
Sure.
So if there was anything that you objected, at that point, you should have objected at the budgeting time, not by changing a personnel policy, giving it your right, not my right.
Well, the personnel policy that we ended up with is based on existing personnel policies in other towns. And one of the things that I think we kind of gravitated towards was when it came to performance-based increases, that should be based on a person's annual review.
But you already had it in here, in the old personnel policy, additional performance-based compensation may be allocated with the approval of the board. So it was already in your personnel policy.
Right, but we, as you admitted, we had a problem last year where raises were given in advance of the budget. So we were trying to add some structure, not necessarily micromanage, but we wanted structure, rules, so
Right.
that couldn't
Well,
happen.
then why are we making it June 1st? Why can't we still have
The
it town
June
meeting?
first, the June 1st reference is not for merit base, that's for your cost of living.
That's right, it should happen at town meeting, not June 1st.
Well,
Because that's when you approve, that's when the town approves the budget.
And then everybody's on the same schedule, you're not spending money.
That's
you're
right.
Retroactively.
No, because you say additional merit raises can be given at,
On your
on their
anniversary.
anniversary.
With approval.
So my
Right.
argument is, why change from town meeting to anything else? That's my argument,
and what, if,
Because I don't think they've been done here, they have not been done
at town meeting.
No,
well, they have been, unless they don't get a raise.
no, they've been
Well-
all over the place, that's why, part of the
That's
problem.
part of the reason we did it, it's
Well,
because
and
it has
that's-
been all over the place.
But that's why in your previous, that you approved last year, it says, for approval at town meeting.
Yeah, well, we didn't
We
change
had already
it.
changed that.
We didn't,
This is our wording, because before that, it didn't have anything
Right.
in the old policy.
I called MMA and discussed
Mm-hmm.
what we were contemplating before we did it.
I know.
And he said that format that we were considering made a great deal of sense. So then we pulled it off the Gray website. We used the town of Gray as kind of our,
Right, because they had quite a comprehensive.
Yeah,
and
it was
then-
very-
But now the question is, Gray fiscal or calendar? We're not fiscal. If Gray is fiscal, then June 1st makes 100% sense.
so I
But we're
said
calendar.
their date was different. We just picked June. We could have picked May. I think they were July.
Well,
but
July would
that's
be
that's
fiscal.
That's a valid, I mean, I think that's a valid thing to point out to us, that perhaps because that their date was a fiscal.
Because their town meeting is probably in late June for a fiscal calendar year. A fiscal year.
Right, but I
Calendar
guess
year.
I'm not really seeing that if every, pick the date, June 1st or May 1st, you get a cost of living increase. And by default, it can be up to 2%, and the town manager has the authority to do that. What difference does it make?
Well, right, what difference does it make to have it at town meeting when it's approved?
Because the town meeting, as we know, kind of moves around.
Floats.
This will stay,
but-
this will always be June 1st.
And actually, we did discuss June 1st, and we said we will always have our town meeting
That-
prior to, there would never be a,
I can't imagine a
Well, it
scenario
doesn't
where we would be
matter.
done by June 1st.
right.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't have to be a static date.
But why can't it be?
It's always gonna be the same date. It's
That
not
way,
gonna-
everybody always knows when the COLA hits.
It's
But
not,
COLA
nobody's gonna get shorted.
Yeah, they are. They're gonna get
No.
shorter from January to
No,
June.
because
Yes,
you're
they
going
are.
through the
always
next
gonna be-
year.
No,
It's always
no.
June.
Only 1 year.
No, you're gonna be shorted because
No, you're
the
not.
COLA starts January 1st. Look it up. Social Security gives their COLA
Yeah, but
effective
you're-
for January 1st,
but the-
not for June 1st. So you're missing 6 months.
First of all, there's
You're only
no
missing the
requirement
first-
to get a COLA.
Correct.
It's a benefit. And
Yeah.
the structure of our policy is pretty generous. Because.
That can be argued, but yeah.
Well, how, does the mill do that?
No.
We're not a mill.
No.
Do the
but
average,
We're not
Does
a mill.
Robinson's
do the average
that?
COLA for the last 10
We're
years
not
for
a-
SSI.
How about compare us to the hospital or compare us
We're-
to
no.
a different corporation, different
I
structure,
think,
not a,
I think
not
a 2% COLA is a pretty generous package.
If you go and look at the COLA for SSI, which is 75% of our population, 80%, 2% is more than SSI in the last 10
2.8
years.
this year.
This year, what's the
This
10-year
year.
average?
I didn't look up the 10-year
It's like
average.
1.8.
Yeah, because
But I know this year is 2.8.
Sure, this year, because it's been so low.
That's right. Because your expenses, and I read this on the Social Security website, is because it lags. COLA lags anyway because of it's based on inflation rate that you've already spent money on.
Correct.
Right.
So the COLA is already lagging by a year, and you
But-
want it to lag by 6 months more.
It's not lagging. so
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
Well, anyway,
Well,
I
but
think,
just
I
agree
think
to
they're
disagree,
benefits, I think they are benefits that most townspeople would feel that are pretty fair. I don't think most people are gonna look at that and say, gee, you know, I've got a lot better deal than that where I work. I don't think most people are gonna feel that way. And I think it gives you plenty of latitude. If you fiscally think, gee, you know, things are out of control, I can't really do a 2% increase, you would have the latitude to do that. And then, your merit base, it's totally yours. You're the one who's deciding whether they,
No, yes, to a certain point. I can say, I'm gonna give them 50 cents. Oh, can I give them 50 cents and you have to approve it? It's not, I'm not being allowed to do that.
correct.
So that's a
Correct.
micromanagement tactic.
Well, the tactic is,
No, it's not micromanagement.
Yes,
That's
it is.
No, that's
It's
looking out
budgetary.
for the future budgetary interest of our town.
what if you said, I wanna give them
No.
$10?
10 cents? You have to have it passed through town meeting.
But we've had scenarios where the commitment has been made to the employee in advance.
Correct.
And that's what we want to avoid.
Well, and the one thing that is not addressed in here that I kind of would like to see it addressed is probationary period. So I have 2 employees that are technically on a probationary period because they're both new employees in that position. And it's a 6-month probationary period. If they've done their work and they've up to snuff, there's no provision in here to offer it at a 6-month probation.
And that's one thing I didn't bring up, but that's one thing I noticed with these numbers that you have here. You know, when I look at this, these numbers and these averages, when you take some of these, I know are 20-year veterans. So I would never compare an average salary of a 20-year veteran to all brand-new employees in positions. That's not even the
But,
same conversation.
right. Theoretically, I mean, not theoretically. Our 2 employees are in new roles as of October, November?
October 15.
October 15, both of them. So they both, I mean, one started and was given a salary, and the other one got a jump in salary because it's a town clerk job.
Right.
So we're only talking 3 months later here, six now. As far as, you know, as far as your pushback, as far as, you know, do they get raises after 6 months? I mean,
I'm not sure where the probationary period, I'm not,
It's in the personnel policy.
but what is it affecting? What is it that you would
Well,
like
I
it
mean,
not to be
when-
doing?
when I offer them the job, I offer them on a probationary period at a certain salary. But if they excel at their job, I should be, and you're gonna know that in 6 months, either you're gonna fire them, right? Because you have the 6 months where you can fire them without cause. I think if they're excelling in their position, they should be offered a merit-based,
And I'm
and
sure that when you do
then
their review. you will-
review after that.
Oh, so you want a 6-month
Only
opportunity?
on a probationary new employee.
No, but beside the probationary, I mean, they both started at, you know, a new salary, starting in October 15th. So we're only 6 months in. I mean, unless you're saying, okay, that was probationary, so now they both need that. I mean, when you were thinking of the raises starting.
It shouldn't have mattered
Yeah.
who, if they were new employees or not.
Mhm.
At town, I mean, if you're trying to say they don't deserve a raise because they've only been in their position since October,
To be clear,
I don't think that's.
none of us are saying,
No,
nobody
no.
here's saying
They're
who
not doing their job.
deserves or doesn't
No,
deserve.
no, I
That's not our
don't, I don't
role.
have a,
No.
no, I mean,
And so just to be clear on that, there's no element of deserve.
no, not at all.
The probationary
not at all.
period, my view of it, is it's protection that's afforded the town. It's because these municipalities have their own special rules when it comes to employees. If you work at Robinson's, they can fire you without cause.
Right,
The town, a municipality, has a 6-month window where they essentially can operate the same way. After 6 months, the
It's-
rules change.
right.
So that's what the probation is, it's that little window that the municipality is given some protection. As far as merit-based raises, I don't see any problem with, on an employee's anniversary, with the town manager determining whether they deserve a raise or not. That's the structure we're trying to provide. And if, God forbid, someday we have a different town manager, when they come in, the pattern should be exactly the same. We won't have somebody giving a raise at the end of the
Right,
tax year, and, because the problem with an increase in pay is it isn't just this year's expenditure.
Right.
It's an expenditure
On
into
every-
perpetuity.
right, right,
So it's budgetarily,
Yeah.
right.
that was all we're trying to provide some structure and
Right.
continuity.
And honestly, if I was an employee, I'd like to know when I'm getting a raise. Or when, you know, what is the structure, when does this stuff hit?
Town meeting.
But that's not what's happened, that's what we're saying. I understand what you're saying, but that is not.
That would be a new way of
I-
doing it, because we haven't done it that way.
Right.
Well,
Well,
because
that's
we
what-
changed the policy last year, correct?
Correct.
So
Correct.
you're basing that,
So this year, they are, I don't wanna say expecting, but because based on this policy,
Policy.
town meeting,
I
and
see,
it budgeted a raise. And now, you know, with this new version, it doesn't happen at town meeting.
See, now I look at this and say that in some ways, it actually works as an advocate for the employees, because now when
Well, I
you,
can't disagree with that, but
right.
when you,
right.
when you go, now when you go into the budget process, that 2% or that cost of living, that's pretty much hardwired into your budget. They're gonna get it. Unless there's some, you know, I mean, all of a sudden the mill rate's going crazy and we have to totally regroup. But they're gonna get that. And you can still budget your, what you anticipate might be needed for raises. It's just, you're not implementing them until their anniversary. And that way, if you have an employee that you've only had for 2 months, you don't have to worry about, it's not time to decide whether they need a raise or not. After a year in, you're gonna have a full assessment. You're gonna be the manager.
And the other thing to me is, we talked about this and we didn't wanna do this, but we don't have any structure for pay. I mean, we don't have anything that says, my deputy clerk starts at this salary, and in so many, and this is the level, and this is top pay, and that's what they're gonna get. So, to me, we have to have one or the other. If we're not gonna have a structure that guides them to where they're gonna be, and what they are gonna make, then we have to have structure in a different.
But that's where you trust your town manager to make that decision without micromanagement them.
This is not micromanaging. It's not.
But I would say, you needed to be here when there were people in the office every day.
Yeah.
Literally every day, there were selectmen in that office. Dale and I were on the budget committee together under a previous town manager. You actually worked with him. Then we had another one, and now I've worked with you. And we had incidents in every single case where this whole compensation thing got out of sequence. Managers were committing things that the money had not been committed to. And so in as little as 3 years, I've seen it double crossed 2 or 3 times where we did it one way, and this simply provides structure. I don't think it's gonna save the town any money. That's not the goal.
Right, and I just think going forward, as you said, it's a structure so that we all know what it is. And again, I understand, Lois, that you hired 2 people with.
For less than the previous 2 people were being paid.
How long was your previous clerk in her position?
24 years.
Okay, you cannot, and you hired a clerk,
But she wasn't even getting paid what some of these others on this list that you tell me been there for 20 years. I mean,
we're not the same, look, if, you can't compare Sangerville to Dover. The workload is not the same. I don't think you can play Guilford because Guilford does 2 towns.
they actually, yeah.
So you're not, you know what I mean? I just don't think it's an apple to an apple.
I mean, are the employees unhappy with what they're making? I mean, is that a valid
Well, I don't think
question?
anybody's unhappy. I mean,
Right.
would
right,
everybody be happier with more money? Of course.
Right, right.
That's a simple answer.
Right, no, I know, but I mean, if they're, I guess
If they were
it's-
unhappy with
Yeah.
what they wouldn't have taken the job.
Right,
I mean, they
Right.
accepted what I offered.
right. I mean, was the conversation when you hired them and, after town meeting, I can pay you more? Or,
No, but you have one person that's been here for several years, 7 years, and with the exception of the last, couple of years, I mean, typically it is town meeting, I mean, and the clerk that left, she said, always at town meeting, they always got their raise with the exception of the last couple of years.
and it's not retroactive to January, is it?
Correct, no.
It's not.
No.
No, it's from that day going forward.
Okay, I'm
From that date going
just
forward.
asking all the, I don't.
And I clarified with MMA as well. Again, I told you the last meeting that when you have that budget line, even though we have the department total in the warrant, but we publish the line item, it can be assumed that you are being directed to spend that money in that manner. So technically, that dollar amount for employees should be spent because that's what you're being directed to spend it on.
And your salary is where in that budget?
It has its own line.
It has its own line. And is it within that department or no?
It's in the admin budget.
Oh, it is in that budget.
Yeah, it's in the first, they're the first one combined, and then there's, I don't know, planning board, 2 or 3 other things in between, and then at the end of that first division is the town manager's salary.
Okay. Okay, so there's separate budget lines.
Mhm.
Well,
Anyway, I'm just voicing my opinion. I was encouraged to speak up
yep.
rather than send it via email, so I did.
Yep. No, I think that's important. I think it's important for us to know how you feel.
Well, and it's good that you also understand what we're not alleging that people are being overpaid. We're not, like I said, this. I don't believe that this change is going to save the town any money. That's not the point. Our hope is that we provide some structure because it has been willy-nilly over the last few years.
Well, yeah.
And we didn't make it up. We picked it. We actually, did some research, found some towns that have this sort of structure, and we mimicked it.
Well, and I mean, again, the date is to me is relevant because it's, if you're looking at towns that are fiscal versus calendar. I mean, because the money is there. if that budget department total is approved, the money that's allotted for wages is there. And so by waiting until June 1st, you're saving 5 months of wages for what purpose? It's there.
Well, we're only saving 5 months on 1 year. They're gonna get paid until June of 20,
Yeah, but
and then there'll be
again,
another
they-
2%.
Yeah,
In theory, is assuming the 2% kicks in again. But I mean, once you've gone a full year, you've gone a full year, right?
No, but I do understand. I mean, and again, I do understand what you are saying.
because this June date that you pick from Gray, if they're fiscal, they're basing it on their town meeting.
Well, we
But-
ought to look and see if they're fiscal, I would.
But no, but
I don't know if it's-
correct
I
me if
still,
I'm wrong.
I'm just missing the relevance of it.
Well, and I maybe, but so if it's a COLA increase, the COLA that starts January 1st. So
The
we-
COLA comes out effective January. There is no COLA starting
See, and
January
again,
1st
The COLA actually is published in November
Oh,
for the following year.
for the
All it
following
is
year.
a
Okay.
recommendation.
So like a
Okay,
December
okay.
payment takes effect on January 1st.
okay. So theoretically, we're not doing that until it
June.
was town meeting. Now it's June.
Right.
So
Oh, so in other
you
words,
see what I see? Right, that they're missing
your
out.
groceries have cost more for
Yes.
5 more months
And-
than you didn't get compensated for that.
And that's where I'm just trying to understand the
Right.
the dismay that you're expressing. I'm just trying to, and yeah, that's what you're saying, that.
Right.
that-
No, now I understand it.
Yeah,
Right.
right, and so they'll always, and you're saying, oh, well, it's only when, they'll always be behind.
Right,
Correct.
there'll always be 5 months
Behind.
that you didn't.
Of
In
the new
in
COLA.
arrears of.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
I understand what you're saying.
And it's not that we're asked to be retroactive to January 1st.
Right,
Some
and I-
towns actually do that.
I did think that, I personally thought that these salary increases were retroactive to January 1st. I thought that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you
But
know,
I maintain that a cost of living increase that's essentially hardwired into your employment, and this is pretty close to that. I mean, we've literally got it in the policy. I mean, we'd have to, the select board's gonna have to intervene for it to be less than 2%.
right,
There's virtually nobody in the county that works under those rules. I don't have that.
right.
My wife doesn't get that. I
Right.
mean, it's not
It's not a guarantee every year. It's
a
not a
2% guaranteed cost of living increase
Right.
is a pretty good deal. That's not, I don't think that's the town being chintzy.
Oh, right.
No, I don't think that's the question. The question now is just the date. And
Right, and the
Yeah.
truth is, it costs the same whether it's May or June or April, doesn't matter. That's,
Yes, no, it doesn't, it does.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
the
I
town,
don't-
it costs the town, we're gonna do 1 full year at
Right.
2%, whether you, if I go to
Yeah,
June to June.
but then if you don't spend it, it goes into surplus. And then you spend it on roads, rather than in.
the other thing is, because the problem is the way you're looking at it is you budgeted starting at that point.
I actually budgeted January 1st to December 31st. I just took 2,040 hours, and that's how I budgeted. But they also have some days that they get overtime because of elections. And so that little bonus that you don't pay anybody from January to town
Offsets the
meeting
other.
offsets.
So
the
would,
little
if
bit
we
of-
made it April 1st, would that be,
What was the date of last year's town meeting?
April 5th.
April 5th. That's
so
the problem.
if you go May 1st, you'll never be later than May 1st.
Why can't you say town meeting?
Because I don't wanna move the date around.
I wanna wait.
Town meeting is a
Yeah, but-
moving target.
Fine.
Correct.
But it's not. It's not a moving target because you
It-
have to have a town
Town
meeting
meeting.
every year.
You know,
But
but
when
it's
do you
never
have
on the
to have
same
it?
day.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
When
matter.
I'm doing cost projections or budgetary issues, I would just as soon figure something out with a fixed date. With a 2% increase, I would like to know when my 2% increase starts.
Yeah, I mean, so
to
make
figure out my
it May
budget.
1st,
That's the point of having a date.
that's all.
It makes it way easier budgetary to calculate it.
So make it April 1st.
Didn't work, because we just had town meeting after that.
Yeah, but we won't do that again.
I would not say that.
I really think we're nickel and diamond at this
No, but
point.
I understand what you're saying. I understand.
But the difference between April 1st and May 1st?
Yeah.
It's
I
30
mean,
days. 30 days has September, April, May, and November.
No, okay, then now we're getting, yeah, and now we're talking,
I definitely don't, I would not have an issue changing it and moving it to May 1st.
None at all.
We would clearly
None. In
have,
fact,
there's
we
no
kind of-
reason we
Right.
would not have town meeting done by then.
before May
Yep.
1st, right,
Don't-
yeah,
I would
So-
support that.
yeah,
I
I do
would
too.
not
I
say
do too.
that, go with May 1st, April 1st, just because we're too close to just doing that.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I don't wanna do it again, but it could happen.
Right, I mean, unless, and we don't wanna do this, is every year visit the personnel policy and move the target, that's ridiculous.
No,
That's
exactly
ridiculous, because
right.
that's like town meeting. And I understand what you're saying. I do,
No, I do too now.
yeah,
I didn't know exactly from what direction you were coming there.
yeah.
But I guess, like, I think we have to remind ourselves that, most people that live here, that are paying these taxes, most people don't
Right.
have a job like that.
Right,
And I'm glad that we're able to do this,
right.
but it's not,
Right, right, and I mean, this is completely different, but I mean, one of the issues, and I just had a townsperson come to me, and somebody who's been here forever and ever and ever and ever, and says, I worked in that office, 100 years ago, and there were 2 people there, and we did everything by hand, and now there's 3 people there, and with computers and everything else, no more residents. Why do we have 3-time employees? So, we get these kind of questions, and so,
I still hear it all the time, why do
I
we have
know.
2 full-time employees and can't be open on Wednesday?
yeah. So when we're talking about, a good job, and there are people saying, oh my gosh, what are they doing? What are they doing all day? There's 2 full-time employees. So we have to field those questions, and so I think that, I think they're, if they're unhappy with what they're being paid, then they're gonna end up leaving, and we don't want that.
Correct.
And things are going well
Well,
in
because
the
money, you spend money on training them.
Yes,
And you wanna
Yep.
be competitive. I mean, another town manager wrote, an essay. And he just said, municipal government must compete for limited resources and must provide quality services with ongoing improvements, just like private businesses. But to get those quality people, we have to be competitive. And if we're not,
no, there's no, I hear you, I understand what you're saying,
I think we're well above competitive, I don't.
see, and I
believe
don't
we're
have
not.
any sense, I don't have a
I
clue,
mean-
I don't know, I don't.
But the other
I don't
thing,
think.
the other thing that I struggle with this whole idea, okay? Our clerk just left,
Right,
24 years. If you wanna go to Guilford, that clerk has been there for 20+ years. Dover has 20-year employees, Dexter has 20-year employees. People don't
Oh,
stay 20 years if they're unhappy.
true,
People
It's
don't
true.
stay 20 years if they don't feel they have a decent
sure,
job.
sure.
There's
true,
not
that's
a
good.
lot of these job openings, because nobody leaves once they get them. So, I just don't think it's an issue.
Okay, well, was that the biggest, I know you expressed that you think that we're micromanaging, and I think we want more structure. We just want more structure just going forward for whatever board is sitting here and for whatever town manager is sitting there. I think
we've seen it kind of willy-nilly. So that was all we were trying to do.
right. I gotta say.
But I have no problem with May
Right.
1st.
Right,
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that,
right.
doesn't matter.
I mean, the difference is $40.
I want a structural date.
If you go April
after
1st, that's
time.
$40, if you're a $30,000 a year person. So, I don't think it's material.
So, I think, I definitely agree with changing the date.
Okay. So, do you want to print a fresh document with a new date that we sign, assuming that there will be a motion to sign it?
You can sign this one. Just make the motion and I can just replace this
The
one
signature page is different?
Yeah, it's on
Okay,
the
Yes.
back.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yes,
so,
so I'll just replace this one page to say May 1st.
okay.
So
So,
I'll make a motion that we are going to go ahead and approve the new personnel policy as of tonight with the correction of the date to read May 1st.
Sorry.
any further discussion? Is it vote? It is unanimous?
Oh, I see.
Item 9, correspondence.
None.
I got this. I don't think it really,
Oh no, that's political campaign
yeah,
thing.
it's some kind of a,
They both got them last
oh,
meeting.
okay.
Oh, that's the one I handed back.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
They should.
Item 10, request for additional agenda items.
I think we added them now.
yeah, yeah.
Executive session? None? I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second,
We're out of here.
and we'll see you all tomorrow night.